Nation of Fitin10, welcome to day 30, and we are moving right along. Of course, day 35 is the midway point, and that is coming up very soon. You can see how fast this challenge goes. In just under 3 weeks from now, we'll have our third scan, and of course, your last scan will be after the challenge ends. Well, maybe not actually. It'll probably be right towards the end of the challenge. Yesterday, I talked about hydration, so just quickly to cap what I said, just to recap what I said with hydration. For every 50 pounds of body weight, my suggestion is to get 1 liter of water. And for every 1 liter of water, take in 1 teaspoon of pink salt, just for proper hydration. I also talked about muscle mass reading on your scan yesterday, and I used the analogy of a gas tank in a car, or imagine your muscles as gas tanks. And of course, when we build more muscle tissue, we can think of this as adding thickness to the steel of the tank, but not affecting the gas in the tank. And when we, for example, eat carbohydrates and have sodium and lots of water, and when we refuel the muscles, because the muscles are the greatest reserves of fuel in the human body, your liver too. You have more muscle than you do liver. This is where we can see the mass of the muscle change just by the storage of water in the muscle. And as I mentioned yesterday, there's going to be some variance with this over time. It's always going up and down. And I use the analogy of your muscles being sort of like a gas tank. And when you build muscle tissue, you're adding thickness or steel to the gas tank. But still, the gas in the tank can go up and down. So it's very possible to add steel to the tank. So you add you add muscle tissue. You add more steel to the tank. But you lose gasoline in the tank, and the overall mass is less. But you still built muscle tissue. You still added steel to the tank. So that's the way you can think about your muscle mass reading. Now, obviously, when you build enough muscle tissue, if you build 10 or 15 pounds, which would be substantial and would take several years, eventually you're not going to see that variance. You wouldn't have enough variance to discount that amount of change, right? Because the variance is always going to be a smaller amount, somewhere 5% or so of your muscle mass. So the point here is you can build some muscle tissue, but you may not see it on your scan. In fact, you can build some muscle tissue and your scan can still say you have less muscle mass than you did before. Okay, simply because you lost more of the water in the muscle than you did the building of that tissue, that you built over 4 weeks. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. What oils or fats are best to cook with? Generally speaking, oils that are saturated or highly monounsaturated oils are good to cook with. That doesn't answer your question. So let me give you some oils that are good for this. Okay, let me give you some oils that have some high smoke points, because ultimately that's what we're after. We want oils that are very stable to cook with. We don't want oils that are going to break down and become carcinogenic to us. So here are some oils or some fats. We have beef tallow, we have avocado oil, we have real butter, coconut oil, lard, olive oil, peanut oil, sunflower oil, and almond oil. This is not an exhaustive list. This is, I think, 10 that I came up with here. And almond oil, okay? So those are a bunch you can use, There are a couple things that will affect the smoke point of an oil. How it's stored, what it's stored in, what light it's exposed to over time. And there's some other things. I'm not going to get into it, but But make sure you store your oils, your fats in a dark, cool location. Now, with all this being said, the way you cook things makes a difference too, right? If you pan fry something, you're looking at probably around 120 degrees. Whereas if you're deep frying or you're baking, you're probably somewhere up around 180 degrees or so. And this can make a difference depending on what you're using to cook with it. Excuse me, which oils you're choosing to cook with, and their smoke point. But generally speaking, I will tell you everything I just listed. So the beef tallow, the avocado oil, the butter, the coconut oil, the lard, the olive oil, the peanut oil, sunflower oil, and almond oil, those would all be safe oils to cook with, okay, or fats to cook with. Okay, message of the day. Message of the day on this week, the week that you will not quit, right? This is the week that you will not quit. Reset, readjust, refocus as many times as you need to. Just don't quit. Reset, readjust, refocus as many times as you need to. Just don't quit. As I mentioned yesterday, the only way you can stop progression is simply by stopping effort. We want to keep the effort going, and as I mentioned many times, try to set yourself some small, they don't have to be large, just some benchmarks, some new little targets to hit that will help you to improve more. Whether it's improving on your schedule of cardio, getting all your cardio sessions in, or maybe it's the intensity of your cardio that you're not meeting, or maybe you're behind on your macros, or maybe you're having some good days and not others, so you can improve on the amount of days that you're meeting your macros. There's so many ways we can improve on this challenge. So do your best to do that. We have got 40 days to go. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.